Hi, this is Matt at Kult of Athena. So I picked out a range of European arming swords that are stylistically similar, um, as much as our current inventory would allow. And I thought we'd go through these in each price point and give you a bit of a rundown of what you can expect from them. So as you can see, we have a wide range of swords available at Kult of Athena, from low end to high end. We have swords that are decorative swords for about $100 or less. Good budget swords, in this case from about $100 to $200, and also from $200 to $400. We also have better swords at the $400 to $500 range, even better yet, ones that are about the $700 to $800 range, and then the best ones, which are $800 plus. And what you can expect as you move up in each bracket is a bit more attention paid to like steel quality, fit and finish. So as in the decorative sword, where it's just you get something that looks like a sword but you shouldn't use it. You don't have to go very far until you get swords that are actually real swords that you can use. And then as you move up, you get more attention paid, as I mentioned, to fit and finish, polish, fittings, until you get to the mid-range, where there's a bit more attention paid to steel and performance, and then at the best range, where they're just getting everything right. Start off with, it's one from our decorative tier of swords. These are usually about $100 or less if you're looking at like a generic style. If you're looking at something that's like a replica of like a movie sword, like something from the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, it can be a bit more expensive than that. But what makes a sword a decorative sword is going to be one of three factors. It's either because it's not built durably enough to actually be used, or that the blade is made of stainless steel, or that the blade is untempered carbon steel. In this case of this one right here, this one has a blade of untempered high carbon steel, even though it's actually built fairly well. But because the blade is not tempered, you wouldn't actually want to be using it because it would bend too easily. Now, decorative swords are generally ones that you either want to use for decoration or as part of like a costume. So these are good for people who want to go to the Ren Fair. They want to have a costume. They want to do non-contact reenactment, and they need to make their budget stretch out across a whole ensemble. So for people like that, you just need something that's got like the look and the feel of the real thing, but you have no intent to actually use it. These decorative swords are a good option for them. So the next tier that we're going to talk about is the good level tier, and these are swords that I would classify as between about $100 to $200. And on our site, these are pretty much well represented by the brand Depica. I've got here the Depica St. Anand sword, and these are good for people who want they want a real sword, but you want it at a bit of a budget price, but you still want a good and respectable sword. So what makes this different than the decorative ones right away is that they're sturdily built. They're rather robust. They have full-length tangs on them. They're well connected to the pommel. And they also have blades of tempered high carbon steel. So we have the basics in place for making a proper working sword. These come sharpened by default, but we have aftermarket sharpening available, so we can give it a respectable edge, and you can get a good cutting sword out of them that are sturdily constructed and with good tempered steel. But what you shouldn't expect is symmetric perfection on them. Because they're handcrafted, you will see some waviness perhaps in kind of the blade. You'll see marks from hammers on them. So you'll see some handcrafted variants on them. Some of the fit and finish might be a little rougher, but it will still be sturdily constructed. These often come with actually a rather good scabbard, especially for that price point. Wood core, often wrapped in leather. Premium high quality leather. So that's a nice bonus you can actually get. Even at this tier, you can get a very nice scabbard. As a step up in quality, but still within the affordable range. We have swords from Windlass, Hanway, Fafnir Forge, Kingston Arms, and Cold Steel. And these swords often have a bit more of attention dedicated to more thorough tempering on the sword, more uniformly tempering. They also have a bit more attention to fit and finish on them. You'll find that pieces will often be polished a bit better. They might be fitted with a little bit less gap in some seams, but still sturdily constructed just as the Picos were. Depending on which brand you're looking at, they might come unsharpened or sharpened. If they're unsharpened, we can put an aftermarket edge on them, so you can use it as a pretty respectable cutting sword. If it comes sharpened already, all the better. You can find some pretty good cutting swords in this price tier. One thing that's quite nice at this more mid-range levels, this is where you start seeing swords that have, instead of just plain high carbon steel, now you start seeing alloy steel, spring steel. So now you're seeing steel that is tempered and has characteristics that allow it to flex and spring true. So this is kind of a more performance-oriented steel, and you start seeing that in this range and above. At this price point, you can also expect to find some good high-quality scabbards. These are still mostly made by hand, so when you start looking closely at them, you'll still find some handcrafted asymmetry on it, but this is evident to a lesser degree than lower price brackets. Also in the better category, but a little bit better on the quality scale, we have swords that are priced at about $450 to $750. And these are from brands such as Deltin, Dark Sword, and these often exhibit a little bit better quality control on them because they are made to smaller production numbers. There's a little more care taken into making sure that the fit and finish on these is nicer. These are also brands that are made in places such as like USA, Canada, Europe, and because they cost more due to where they're produced, their deal to you is to pay more attention to the small details to make a finer sword in that regard. So for example, I have this Deltin late 13th century medieval sword, and the steel on it is quite excellent, really, and very sturdily constructed. So if you're interested mostly in a lot of like fit and finish, and you just want like a high quality product that's had a bit more individual attention given to it, these are swords to look at. So with this Deltin, for example, while you're getting a really high quality steel and more attention paid to it on an individual level, what you aren't getting often in these cases is a scabbard. So that leaves us with the best category of swords, and these are swords I would classify as $800 and above, such as this Valiant Army Leon sword. Now these swords, they're usually made in, a lot of them are made in North America, some in Europe, but these have a high degree of CNC milling being done to the blades. So the blades are actually CNC milled before they're finished by hand. So that actually gives these a high degree of symmetry to them and allows them to make very thin blades that are excellent cutters. Spring steels, alloy steels are commonly used. So these are tough, flexible, dependable steels. And they often pay a bit more attention to some details, such as making the blades rigid and also ensuring great handling, distal taper, and also you get features such as the tangs being hot peened for a really solid, dependable construction. These are swords that these are heirloom. You're gonna put them in your will if you take care of them. A lot of these don't have scabbards, but what you can do is there's a number of custom makers who can make you a scabbard aftermarket. And in a lot of cases, you don't even need to send them the sword. You just let them know which one you want, and they can actually make you a well-fitted scabbard. Thanks for joining us at this video, sponsored by us here at Kult of Athena. Please like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again soon.